Barakata Yahweh, Barakata Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakahakwadash, Barakatum. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, and infinite honors to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai. Double honors to the apostles and elders, a great millstone who rule and teach well. And peace and salutations to you sincere Akim out there, pushing this word in truth and sincerity to the four corners of the globe. May you brothers endure until the end. This is the brother Ra'aya with another video, and in this video I'll be profiling an article from Breitbart.com titled Global Food Crisis, IMF Warns of Unrest Amid Food Supply Shortages. The IMF has become the most recent global body to release a warning regarding potentially forthcoming global food shortages, and we know according to the scriptures, such as Matthew chapter 24 and 2nd Esdras chapter 16, that severe famines are coming, which are going to kill off a lot of people, saying that vulnerable nations are at risk of civil unrest amid supply issues. And we know that civil unrest is people going against their governments due to grievances they have towards their government. Civil unrest linked to sky-high food prices is on the cards for poorer countries. The IMF has warned amid fears that the world could be heading into a global food crisis as a result of the ongoing conflict in Ukraine. And also, according to the scriptures, it's prophesied that people are going to go against their governments. And it's not just going to be in poorer countries, as that paragraph just said. It's going to happen in richer countries as well, even the United States of America. Now let's get into some precepts. This is 2nd Esdras chapter 15. I'm going to start at verse 15. For the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. And what's the modern day sword? The gun. And that one people standing up and fighting against another can be different races of people, people from different political affiliations, rich people against poor people, etc., etc. We're coming into the times to where, as it said in that article, civil unrest is going to take place over a whole host of issues, from inflation and hyperinflation, food shortages, and just people going against their governments, which are, as we can see, going along with the dictates of the elites, such as the Rothschilds, Rockefellers, DuPonts, Gettys, Merovingians, you name it, to bring about their NW0, the GREATRESET, or that fourth industrial revolution. Verse 16, for there shall be sedition among men. And when you go into the definition for the word sedition, it means conduct or speech inciting rebellion against a ruling authority or monarch. So civil unrest and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes. And your modern day kings and princes are these people in the government, from mayors, governors, senators, presidents, prime ministers, etc., etc., as well as the authorities such as the police or the military that uphold the system. And we're coming into a time where people aren't going to care anymore. People are going to be starving, angry, and just ready to lash out because they see that the authorities don't have their best interests at heart, that they've been screwing them over, leading them like cattle to the slaughter. And the course of their actions shall stand in their power. Amid past warnings of starvation and hell on earth, migrant crises over a lack of food, the international finance body has predicted that growth across the world will be negatively affected, with poorer nations, as well as richer nations in particular, to feel the brunt of the ongoing crisis. According to a post on the organization's website, a mix of high inflation and supply problems are to greatly slow economic growth across the world, with vulnerable economies in particular to be hit with the brunt of the hardship. And I did a video a little while ago showing that in the United States of America, due to inflation coming and really hyperinflation, the average American family should expect to spend about an extra $433 a month on food, and also put aside for the year an extra $5,200 for food. This crisis unfolds even as the global economy has yet to fully recover from the situation with the Cragamuffin 19, the post penned by the group's research department director, Pierre-Olivier Gorinches. Even before the war, inflation in many countries had been rising due to supply-demand imbalances and policy support during the situation, prompting a tightening of monetary policy. The piece continues. In this context, beyond its immediate and tragic humanitarian impact, the war will slow economic growth and increase inflation. Furthermore, increases in food and fuel prices may also significantly increase the prospects of civil unrest in poorer countries, sedition among men, people not regarding their kings or princes. And you've already got a civil unrest taking place in countries like Sri Lanka and Peru. It goes on to read, central banks will need to adjust their policies decisively to ensure that medium and long-term inflation expectations remain anchored, which they're not. Again, all these things taking place are all at the behest of the elites so that they can bring about their NW0. What's more, while the IMF report went into details as to the near future effect of the current crisis for this year and the next, the globalist organization appears to fear that issues surrounding food shortages could persist longer still. And hey, these food shortages and famines that are coming are going to be so bad that not only is it going to lead to sedition among men, but it's also going to lead to people breaking into each other's houses and killing each other to get their hands on whatever food they may have. Back in 2nd Esdras chapter 15, I'm going to jump to verse 19. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword. And again, what's the modern day sword? That gun. But people are going to be using a whole host of other weapons as well in these days to come. Bats, clubs, sticks, knives, literal swords, Molotov cocktails, brass knuckles, you name it, and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread, the lack of food, food shortages, famines, and for great tribulation, all these other judgments, punishments, and calamities that Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai is bringing to this planet to punish you people for all the wickedness you've been committing. Sky News reports the organization as warning that food hoarding on the national level in Ukraine could further worsen the crisis and result in a longer-term humanitarian impact. So with this article, hey, but as we can see, biblical prophecy has taken place before our very eyes. We can see that the sedition among men is brewing, the famines are brewing, etc., etc. But now I'm going to close it out. In 2nd Esdras chapter 9, I'm going to start at verse 1. He answered me then and said, measure thou the time diligently in itself. And that's exactly what the true men of the Lord, the prophets of the Most High, chiefly through GMS or Great Millstone, are doing by watching the news and reading the scriptures, and then filtering the news through the scriptures to go out onto the highways and byways to preach this word, as well as put up video epistles like this to not only tell the hopeful elect of the nation of Israel of the terrible times to come and what they need to do to stay in the good graces of their power, Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai, so they can hope to be safe from all these calamities of Jacob's trouble, but to also tell 2/3 of the nation of Israel, or you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans who are hard-headed and refuse to return back to your power, Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai, and also you heathen nations of the judgments to come from Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai for all the wickedness you've been committing on this planet. And when thou seest part of the signs past, which I have told thee before, then shalt thou understand that it is the very same time wherein the highest will begin to visit the world which he made. Verse 3, therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes, and earthquakes are happening damn near daily all across the planet, and uproars of the people in the world. And what did we just read from that article? That due to inflation and supply shortages and food shortages, there's going to be civil unrest in these different countries, sedition among men, people not regarding their kings or princes, uproars of the people in the world. And like I said a little bit earlier, you've already got people in a state of civil unrest in countries like Sri Lanka and Peru. Then shalt thou well understand that the Most High spake of those things from the days that were before thee, even from the beginning. For like as all that is made in the world hath a beginning and an end, and the end is manifest, and we can clearly see that the end of this current age of the rulership of the heathen nations, chiefly of the Edomites, or the so-called white people, is manifesting right before us. And what's also manifesting is the coming of the kingdom of heaven, where the children of Israel will rule for eternity in. So that's it with this video. And with this video, I hope you sincere Akim and Akwath were edified. Just keep strong. We're almost out of this final wicked captivity of the heathen nations, chiefly of the Edomites. And as always, I'm going to say Abad Babal, Kwam Yasharala, and until next time, Shalom.